Okay, so the supplies I'm using are the Arta Ash Blonde Chibi, once again, because it has the back with the, as you can see, the skin top that you're looking for this particular project. I also got the short wefts in the same color, so that's going to be in handy when I'm making the actual cones. To make the cones, you're going to want this foam. It's basically styrofoam. They call it floral craft or florocraft because it's, you know, floral foam. You're going to want 1 block per cone that you're going to make. So I need 2 blocks to make, you know, 2 cones. You're going to need some standard hot glue. This is a high temp hot glue gun. I think you can get away with a low temp. I haven't used it yet, but, you know, worth a try. You're going to want a small cup or bowl for ice water. You're going to need a Sharpie for marking up your foam block. Some sandpaper for later after you're all done carving. This is a coaster. I basically use it to mark how big I want the circle or how big the base needs to be on the cone. And then also a standard box cutter. This is a cheap one I just got at the dollar store for cutting the foam. And that is about it for the supplies. What I'm doing now is I'm sewing in these clips. This is very important because it helps keep the wigs in place. Now, they come with these clips already sewn in, which is fine for the bottom, but for the top, I find that they don't help that much and they actually just end up sliding. So these ones open like that when you press them, and then they snap into place when you press down on them on both ends like that. And they really just grab onto the wig cap and grab onto the hair, and they help it so it doesn't slide. So yeah, I'm just replacing this one, which I just seam ripped out, and replacing it with this piece that I bought online for, you know, a couple sets. And that's all. Now, the first thing I want to do with Viola is I want to cut her bangs, because honestly, her bangs are supposed to be above her eyebrows, and eyebrows are right here. So she has a very choppy look. I may forego some of the choppiness just for aesthetic purposes, but I definitely need to cut up the bangs so they're at least an appropriate length. So I use a pair of texturizing scissors. You can get them at Walmart, you can get them at Sally's Beauty Supply. You can see that they've got this tooth here, and they help layer things, so it's easier to work with them. But you treat them like a regular pair of scissors, and instead of cutting straight across, you want to cut more up and down. It makes things easier. So here we go. As you can see, they don't cut directly, but they do take hair out. They kind of automatically layer for you. Mind you, you always need to check this against yourself. So start longer rather than shorter when you're cutting. Or rather, you know, stop with it looking a little long. Test it against your hair. See how it looks, and then continue on. See, you can see her uneven choppy bangs starting to form. Looks cool, right? Yeah. Awesome. Alright. Put in a few more different layers in here. Take up this part. She does have side dangles, so you're just gonna kind of keep these, but her side dangles are a lot shorter than these ones, so I'm gonna layer them down. Probably thin them out a little bit, like so. So they're a little bit shorter and thinner than the other side. it always helps to have your reference nearby so you can tell what you're cutting. See all the different layers of chop so you can tell what you're, you know, working with, and her side dangles and all that. So I can see what I'm doing here, making things. Obviously I need to come up around the eyebrows a little more, so. And there you go. Okay, something that I wanted to show you guys before I really get started is that, you know, everyone, you should wear a wig cap when you're putting on your wig. But one of the things that I've also been doing for a while is I've been putting on these clips. See, they're snapping clips. They help keep this droopy hair up, and they also help keep the wig in place, like so that my hair doesn't droop down when I wear a wig. Okay, here I am testing the wig to make sure that this is the appropriate length. It's long enough in front, it's choppy enough, it's got all the different layers. It's hard to see all the different layers. Bobby pins help, by the way. An example, this side is bobby pinned down, so like it lays nice and flat against it, and this is not. And you can kind of see all the underside and all this excess, see this, and you know, all that. It's so really important to bobby pin your wigs down. It helps significantly, especially with wigs like this. So you have your styrofoam square with your coaster or whatever you're going to use to make the base of your cone, and you use your Sharpie to draw a circle around it so it looks like this. I chose to put my circle along the edge instead of in the center because Viola's horn curves up. It's not a straight cone. So when I mark the sides, I make it so that I have a base to go on and how the horn curves up like that. So I, you know, stencil out kind of what I'm going to do. Carving, it's going to be fun. It's a little bit tricky of a procedure to do. If you were doing something like Sailor Chibi Moon or Chibiusa, if you were doing her cone, which is a straight cone, you would just, you know, pencil out a straight cone on all edges and then sort of mark where your exact center is, where you want the point to go, and then you just carve down the edges, and it's a little bit easier than making Viola's curved horn. So, you know, you just take this and you start whittling away bit at a time. It takes a long time to get it right, and it's a bit of judging, and then getting them to match is more challenging, but when it's all done, it looks like this. This is what the end product looks like. See how it curves up like hers does, and all that. I marked the bottom so that I know where I'm going to be carving out the centerpiece in order to stick it on the wig head. Sticking it on as such, if that makes sense. And then I also, it's super smooth because I sandpapered after I was all done carving. Same difference. When I was all done, yeah, I just used the sandpaper, and that's, you know, all you need to do. So, there's that. Side note, this is an extremely messy process. You're gonna get styrofoam bits everywhere. I kind of try to carve over a box and, you know, work it from there. I start with cutting a line around the circle, and then I slowly, bit by bit, just sort of carve away at it until, you know, you get a bit of an impression, right? You start with there. And then I start whittling my way down after I've gotten the first base, so I kind of have a reference as to what's the widest point, because the widest point will be the base of your cone. So then I just sort of work my way up and, you know, carve my way up from there. Here you can see the incredibly slow process. It's starting to take a little bit of shape and how the cone's supposed to look. You can see, you know, my guideline, I'm slowly whittling away. My circle, which I still have, you know, as a good reference as a base, so I just keep cutting into everything and working my way up. I keep this corner true because this will actually be the point of my cone, so I just need to make a curve that goes from here that curves up like this, and then I just kind of whittle it in like this. And so I started by rounding this edge because it's just easier to keep in mind that this is, you know, going to be the curve of the cone, like such, you know. And so it helps me visualize the cone better when I start curving the entire thing and then working my way in. So yeah, just part way into it. Here you can see we're a little further along. You can see my cone very slowly start to form as I whittle away a little at a time. Don't go too fast with this because you'll run the risk of cutting off too much, and that would just be, you know, a travesty. So yeah, you can see I kept my point true, and then I just worked my way down towards my circle, which was the first thing I cut out. And you can still see that some of it needs working because it's still, there's still pieces that are bigger than the circle itself. And remember, this edge circle is supposed to be the largest point on your cone. Alright, see how we're very slowly getting there? We're, you know, getting the curve right. This looks good. The edge still has to come off around here so that it can be a more proper shape. You know, look a little more like that as we continue on. But it's coming along. You're getting closer and closer to the shape that you want. If this is your first cone, just keep going and measuring it against your wig until it looks right. Or, you know, hold it up to your head in the mirror and see what it looks like. And mind you, you probably want it a little bit smaller, just a tiny bit smaller than what you want the full cone to be, because the hair will add size to the cone. If this is your second cone, it helps to constantly check against your second cone, so that you can see, you know, oh, what do I need to do? I clearly need to take off this top part a little bit more and, you know, work from there. So having the comparison is really helpful. Okay, here you can see we're pretty much done carving. It's still sort of rough and you can see a lot of hard edges, but it is roughly the same size and shape as the other piece. So that's good, and once, you know, I sand this, it'll be done. Okay, here you can see I have my virtually identical pieces. They look the same, about the same size and shape, so we'll be able to start working with our two cones. The next step in this super arduous journey is that you're going to want to put a circle here, so you know where you're going to put a hole to fit the ponytail in, so that you can, you know, fit this over the hair that's going to be left behind after you cut. So you make your hole and then you cut it out with an X-Acto knife or a box cutter or whatever you can. It looks something like this when you're done. It's a pretty deep hole, it's a little bit wide, and it'll fit over, you know, this when you're done. After you've put your hole into your horn so it can fit onto the wig, you need to start mapping out where you're going to lay the hair. It looks a little like this once you've mapped it out. You start at the top and you kind of wrap the hair around and you start here. You cut your wefts off to the correct size and then you just start hot gluing them down as such. So you're probably gonna have to do this multiple times. This is where your ice water comes in handy, because when you hot glue, you're gonna have to follow like the Sailor Moon tutorial, dip your fingers in the ice water after you put the hot glue down and brush it down. I'll show you more in a minute. Alright, we have our hot glue, we have our ice water, my crazy amount of wefts, and the new weft. So I took a piece, I cut it off, right, about this long, and then I doubled it over. So I'm gonna tear it a little bit so that it's like this, staggered. I think that's the word I'm looking for. Anyway, starting here. Don't pencil your map, your reference, don't dark, because if you do, it'll be hard to cover with the wefts. So don't do that. Alright, there's your first layer. Looks a little messy, but this will go by and you just keep it up. Keep doing layer by layer. I thought I'd just show you guys how I'm actually holding this as I go because it's easier to do it this way. These are my knees, in case you haven't told, my legs. and it is much easier for me to be able to hold the hair out like this. And move on like this. Lay the hair down more evenly. And so on and so forth. If you have a clamp or something, that works, but this also works, just holding it with your legs and using your hands. So, there you go, just so you know. As you're coming to an end, you can use the lassie. You've got all these pieces so that they're wrapping around like this. You can take a piece, and I glued it right up at the top, and I'm winding it down and wrapping it to cover those, and then I will show you how to cover that last piece when you're all done. So I plan on hiding this, I don't know if you can see it, this tiny bit, right, with yet another piece over here that I'm going to loop around like I've been doing, and then bring it around and keep coming down, and then there. Okay, so next you want to cut off all this excess hair so you have, you know, a short stub, probably about this size. Okay, you will hot glue the end of it and around where your elastic is, so it helps everything stay exactly where it's supposed to, instead of, you know, everywhere else. After all that's done, you put on your cone. That'll show you that in a second. So instead of trying to take this all off in one go, which is going to be really difficult because it's so much hair, I usually take it in chunks and cut off pieces in chunks like this and work slowly from there. Okay, so after that's done, it's time to put on your finished cone. You still have the hole where you're going to just pop this on and glue it down, and that's pretty much how that works. So, do your best to fill this with glue. And the edges. Kind of get it just everywhere. You've got that. Place it on the head as such. And hold until it feels secure for a little bit. And then once both are on, they should be pretty secure, which is nice. You're gonna have a little bit of space here. That's okay because with Viola, she's gonna get a bit of ribbon that goes around here. So that's that. Okay, so the last thing you need to do for Viola are these. I made her outfit out of a suede, so I just cut out the suede and fray checked it in place, and it really hides the seam lines. So I'm going to just show you how to put this on really quick. You make the strips uneven by a lot. And then you start by up here, putting them up here, and you loop them around. And then they come around again. And then they loop around again like so. And they come in here. I think I made my loops obviously too small. You can always check it, adjust the loops by loosely moving everything until you're happy with how big or not big everything is. So just keep adjusting until you're happy with what you've got. And then just tie it off as such. You just double knot it and it should be good to go. Once it's double knotted, and it'll hang down, and then you can cut them according to how long or not long you want them. You can keep them really long or you can have them short, up to you. This should be the final look of your Viola wig. There you go. Happy wig making!